It's not the casuals are used to easy mode Tarkov. It is Tarkov is complicated and broken and designed poorly, and people that want better design don't inherently want Tarkov to be harder or easier. That is a conversation we can have, but I just want it to be designed better and to be more intuitive. Bad game design is not hardcore. I say again, bad game design is not hardcore. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, the show dedicated to talk about all the progress things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I am one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam.
And I am
Top V.
Top V. Oh my god. I should make like an alt channel that's just Top V where it's all
yes
me as an Andrew Tate flat earther.
Top V is your like Twitter alt where you just like shit post and troll people that troll your content. Yeah.
I gotta wear sunglasses inside.
Shirtless, sunglasses, cigar.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about shirtless.
Bald cap.
If anything, maybe like a blazer without a shirt on underneath.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that. Tasteful.
Yeah.
Just shirtless, tiny, respectfully.
Tiny tuft of hair.
Oh, man. Well, how you doing, bro?
I'm fucking tired, dude. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm tired. Editing takes it just so...
Yeah.
It is a time machine, dude. It's a time machine. There's some like part of content creation that there's not enough time.
Yeah.
It's like the things that I do when I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be on a plane flight, because normally it's like, I'm a prisoner, this takes forever.
Yeah.
But then if I'm editing, I sit down at 5:30 a.m. and I look up and it's 8:30 p.m. and I haven't gotten up to eat or pee, right? And it's like, what happened to the day?
Yeah.
But yeah, these days I get up 5 or 6 o'clock. I sit in bed for like 2 or 3 hours, write scripts.
Oh yeah.
Go downstairs, edit video until like 3, 4, 5 o'clock, and then go upstairs, eat, shower, and then come down and start my stream.
Oh my god.
It's just like
that is insane.
I'm fading. The last couple of days, I'm like, I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
But I see the light at the end of the tunnel.
That's the time to be feeling it. Yeah. Oh,
I'm 5 hours and 45 minutes long, and I still have the ending section, like part 5. So it's going to be 6.5 hours.
Oh my god.
Originally it was going to be 2.5 and 3.5 and 4.5. Now it's going to be it will be more than 6. That's all I can say. It'll be more than 6.
Babe, do you want to watch 2 Lord of the Rings director cuts or Veritas's new video?
Yeah. Watch Lord of the Rings.
That's crazy. I'm so excited. I'm all in on long content.
There's fewer trolls in Lord of the Rings though than there are in
I believe that.
Fucking gremlins. But so did I tell you about the whole Antarctica thing?
Yes.
I think we might have talked about it on the Patreon.
Yeah.
Super fast TLDR. This channel came out of nowhere called The Final Experiment. It was a big mystery.
Yeah. And
they basically said, we are going to prove for once and for all, which is obviously like copium to the maximum degree, that if the Earth is either round or the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
And they show a montage of a bunch of the flat earthers and a bunch of the like globers all talking about how Antarctica, how on a globe in the winter in Antarctica, the sun is up for 24 hours.
Yeah.
You literally just see it above the horizon go around. There's videos of this. The flat earthers all point to them and say they're fake or they're doctored or whatever. And they say that like that's the thing that would like, yep, this doesn't work on a flat Earth, which is rare. You can rarely ever get them to ever say, to make any proclamations. So this guy made the channel, and he basically is like, I'm inviting, I think, 24 flat earthers, 24 globers, although I have a feeling that like we're talking single digits that are even remotely considering being a part of this. But it was in December, the middle of December, for like 5 days. A bunch of flat earthers, a bunch of globers, go to Antarctica, stay there for 4 or 5 days, and see it with your own fucking eyes.
Yep.
And of course, like, if the noteworthy flat earthers go, it's hard for anybody to say it was fake, like the video's fake or whatever, right? Sure. If they were there. So there was a reveal a couple days ago about who was behind the channel. And it was actually this one guy. I was really surprised and kind of encouraged. This guy, Pastor Will Duffy.
Okay.
He debated one of the more prominent flat earthers. So he's a pastor, but he believes the earth is round. And he was just like not the typical debater. Like, he was just kind of a humble, down to earth guy. A bunch of the things, like, he wasn't playing like the debate games where you pretend you have the answer for everything. Like, they'd ask him something, he's like, listen, man, I don't know that. Like, I'm not this mega super science literate guy. He's like, I just want to talk about the things you know, and I liked that because it wasn't off-putting, you know. So found out it was him, but ended up talking to him. Well, so I'm kind of like, basically have been invited to take part. It's like $31,000 is like the price. So if I would do it, I would obviously GoFundMe.
That's insane.
Yeah. So I guess the question is like whether or not. So I would only go. There are some like strict conditions. There needs to be there's like 3 big flat earthers. There needs to be one of them.
Yeah, you don't want to go if none of the prominent flat earthers go, and it, No,
it's an absolute waste. So they would have to go. You know, there would need to be some kind of contract or something, and they would also need to basically like to whatever degree you could get them to effectively sit down on camera.
Yep.
And say, I will change my mind if X. I won't say, you know, because I already know there's a list of, you know, goalposts moving excuses.
Yeah.
How do we know we were in Antarctica?
Yeah.
It could have been a NASA hologram. It wasn't the sun. Like, seriously, like
no, yeah.
The ISS is a hologram.
Yeah,
it's a hologram.
Yeah.
These people, you know, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them. So there's certain criteria that I would have to go, and of course, you know, if I did the GoFundMe, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I would make sure that like everything was completely like above board.
Yeah.
Make sure that like if for some reason I ended up not going, everybody gets all their money back, like all of the you know, I'm not looking to like profit off of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a little bit of time to like think about what I want to do with that.
Oh my god. Cuz obviously conceptually that's the dragon you're chasing is the you're here, like you can't explain this, and you want them to be like, holy shit, the earth is round.
Yeah, I mean, so which will never happen.
Which will never happen. But that's the thing. But it's like, that's why this is so enticing, because you're like, put them in a place where they can't refute it. But then there's a part of you that knows there's always something.
The next best thing there is to have one. It would be the ultimate gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's 2 other big gotcha moments. I don't know if you've ever seen these before, but so there's a documentary called Behind the Curve, I think.
Yeah.
You can get it on like Amazon and probably YouTube and whatever. Where one of the prominent flat earthers, the late Bob Nodell, he worked with someone in the flat earth community who bought a $20,000 ring laser gyroscope. which is what they use for navigation
Yeah.
or whatever. He put it on his desk, turned it on, 15 degree per hour rotation.
Yeah.
It detected, right? Because 15 degrees per hour times 24 hours is 360 degrees, right? So that's the whole thing, is that the Earth would need to rotate 15 degrees. And he picked up. So in the documentary, you have him basically going through and being like, explaining all the stuff, blah, blah, blah. We turn it on and oops, we found out the Earth was spinning. Well, so of course we weren't happy with that. So we then needed to go and put it in a container to make sure that it wasn't the heavenly energies causing it to whatever. And that didn't work. So then what we're going to do is do this other thing that they never ended up doing. But in the documentary, there's him at like a barbecue, at like a flat earther get together. I don't know. He must have forgotten he was mic'd up and that they were filming, because he's like talking with somebody and he's basically like, yeah, so this whole like rotation thing, it obviously looks really bad. We got to figure out what we're going to do. Obviously, we can't release it like this. Basically talking about how like, it looks like shit. But now he wasn't
Oh my
saying,
God.
he wasn't saying, like, he wasn't implying that he was like we know the Earth is round and we're lying.
Yeah.
It was more so like, how are we going to rationalize?
Yes, we have to like come to a consensus on this.
We need to tweak the experiment to make it work, because we must be doing it wrong.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the way that documentary ends is this other guy, this guy Jaronism, he tries to reproduce this experiment that was the Bedford level experiment, which is like there's a really long canal in like the UK, I think.
Okay.
And basically what they did is like shine a laser over this flat area.
Okay.
And if you have like, let's just say you have two boards and you cut holes in the boards, you put them there and they're the same height. Then if you shine the laser through and the laser is level, it should go through hole number 1 and hole number 2.
Yep.
If the Earth is round,
it would.
Well, then it's going to be off by some amount. And they're setting this whole thing up, and they said if the Earth was round, then what that means is that like if he raises, you won't be able to see the light when he holds it like this.
Yep.
But if he raises it up
to compensate for the curve. Yeah.
So then literally the last moments of the documentary is being like, okay, Enrique, can you go? He's got like on the walkie-talkie, can you go and whatever? And you just don't see anything.
Yep.
And then he goes, lift it up, and all of a sudden, and he goes, interesting. And then boom, credits, music. So it's like those two gotcha moments.
Yeah.
So the reason, what I think would be best case scenario here, the best case likely scenario, is you get them on camera saying there will not be a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. If it is, then the Earth is a sphere. And then instantly cut to them going,
wow. I see what you mean. It's like, don't even give them the time to post-rationalize. Like, use their blind confidence against them. Sit them down before the experiment and like, let's film. How confident are you? Film it. Say, there's no way this is happening. And if it is, the only explanation is that it's a sphere, but I'm that confident. And then show it to them. And then, that's funny. That makes sense. Because you're right. There will never be a moment where those guys go, oh my God, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. The Earth is a globe. But that's basically, you're saying, the best you can get.
Yeah. And they won't. I have a feeling that they will give themselves as much wiggle room as possible.
Of course.
Because
what if they're in a NASA hologram?
I don't think that being as generous as I can, they'll probably think there might be an explanation. Like, if I did see it, then there would be an explanation.
Yeah.
That I haven't accounted for.
Exactly.
Because they can't consider that they're wrong.
And that's where we're at, is that I know the fact first, and then everything I see, there just must be an explanation for out there, as opposed to like what we see informs what we decide. So fascinating. I will be excited to follow the journey on the will they, won't they of if Veritas goes to Antarctica to dunk on some flat earthers.
What a wild thing, dude.
Yep.
What a wild thing that would be. Going in. I mean, it's like a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah, even just going. Like, forget the flat earthers. There's like 80 people in the world, like I said, I've been to Antarctica. Not really 80, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, me, Mr. Beast, and all the NASA penguins.
That's pretty much it.
And apparently it only gets between like, it says like 20 to negative like 10 or 15 degrees, which like honestly
That's
isn't that
way
bad.
not as cold as I thought.
No, I was thinking it was like I'm ignorant when it comes to this stuff. I would have assumed like minus 80.
Me too.
Know, like real bad. But like it's been -5, -10 here in New England before, and it's like you just cover every inch of your body with 900 layers and
don't be outside for too long.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
So, I don't know.
That's fascinating. Well, hell yeah, dude. Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
Tarkov's on fire still,
well,
huh?
There's been a whole lot of going on in the Tarkov land, dude. I don't even know where to start, honestly. There's a lot going on. Well, okay, so less like drama, I would say, since the Unheard edition or anything. There's several things. One, we ended last week's episode talking a little bit about like Nikita's unhinged rant on Twitter about, we are the unheard, long live hardcore, you know what I mean? And in that thread, he was talking about basically make your, he worded it super weird. Make your decision on if you would like to support things like this. He never like added Arena Breakout, but he was obviously like, it was so funny because it was, I think he was trying to, I think it was almost his way of saying like it's interesting to see where the true colors of a lot of the content creators and a lot of the community are, because people are supporting this and that and the other and whatever. We've talked about it a bunch on stream. Obviously, if somebody copied your homework, that's annoying, and I get him being upset. I'm trying not to fault him too hard. You know what I mean? And the language barrier and whatever, but it gave me a vibe of like, I can't believe you guys like would, it almost gave me disappointed dad vibes of like, I can't believe you guys would support it. And at the time, especially, there wasn't, and we can talk about this first, I guess, a whole lot of substantial smoking gun proof that anything had been like stolen. There's really obvious things, which like that obvious ways that they've like copied Tarkov. But at that point, so it's just hard. I don't know. It just felt like a cart before the horse situation of like, I'm so disappointed in you guys supporting this. But at the time it was like, supporting what? Like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. But yeah, it all started. Then, so we ended that. We ended last week talking about that. Then the whole like, I don't know, what was it? It was called like Dong Gate, because the people were showing the dong grip on the AKs and the dust cover. Nikita tweeted the two dust covers with like, it's a match. And I truly can't and don't care to keep up with it. I've seen a lot of AK dust covers. I've seen some 1911 stuff. I've seen the dong grips and the textures, and people are zooming in on the wood grain and the cuts and the whatever. And then one peg made a video apparently disproving that the things, and Aroctic made a video saying that they aren't the same, but Nikita's saying they are the same. And then he released some more images of other guns that Nikita was saying the same, and other people saying it's not the same. Then other people saying it's obviously the same. If you see these pictures and don't the boycott Arena Breakout, I don't know, dude. I just keep seeing yellow and gray pictures of triangles, and that's it,
dude. And so I've only seen a little, and all I can say is I'm just like genuinely disappointed with how fucking sloppy everybody is. It's like every other picture, people are posting a picture that has like 9 different models. Nothing is labeled. They don't explain anything. I know. So infuriating.
At no point did any of Nikita's tweets ever show like indicate which one is Tarkov and which one is Arena Breakout. It was just yellow and gray. And I don't even want to, some people in chat, I don't want to put words in One Peg's mouth. I didn't watch any of his videos. No hate to One Peg. I didn't watch anybody's videos on this stuff. So I don't know what he said. I based on what I saw on Twitter, I think at one point he believed the models were exact, and then now doesn't necessarily know, or maybe he's doubting if they're exact. So maybe he made a video at one point saying, I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth. All I'm saying is that I don't know. You know what I mean? I just keep seeing I just keep seeing triangles, and I keep seeing it's like what at the end of the day, what I find funny about it is I've seen almost the same amount of like, look, if you take these pictures and stack them on top of each other, they're exactly the same, as I have like, look, if you stack these pictures on top of each other, they're different. So I'm not here to say Arena Breakout didn't steal anything, man. They're off the hook. Nikita's trolling. I'm not here to say that. I'm here to say for everything each side wants me to just believe is a smoking gun, the other side has something that's just as smoking gun-like. You know what I mean?
Well, and none of them are really smoking guns.
Exactly. So
they all just like kind of confidently talk about nebulous shit without giving. It's the same. It's kind of the same vibe that I had, and maybe I'll get eaten alive for this too.
Yeah.
That I had about my feedback of the GOAT video.
Yeah.
Where I basically said it was sloppy. It was fucking sloppy. Like, if you want to make a case, you need to fucking dot your I's and cross your T's.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen One Peg's video. I've just seen a bunch of stuff posted on Twitter. And it's all of these people that are so sure, and the things that they post, either they're coming to conclusions on stuff that they shouldn't, that's like super ambiguous, or they're only giving us, they're like, here's the smoking gun, and they're showing us a picture of the smoking gun, and we see just a little bit of smoke, but the gun is all out of frame. And what do you...
And in fairness, there's like two types of people that have been covering this. There have been the people that on both sides are like super confident and like definitively they didn't steal or definitively did. And then there have been people that have been basically just like bringing the news, like where it's like, here's people posted this, people posted this looks the same. Like, if anything, I almost respect the fact that One Peg's opinion seems to have changed, because it's like, he's like, based on the information I know, these look the same. Oh, maybe new information has come, XYZ. But I completely agree with you. Like, how do I say this without, once again, I mean, there's no way to qualify it. To the people that are mad, there's no way I can qualify it. They already think I'm defending Arena Breakout. But if you're Nikita and you're going to throw that accusation out on Twitter, if I was Nikita, I would want to throw it out in such a way that people wouldn't be able to wonder if I just duplicated the file in Photoshop and made one yellow.
Yeah, if it was undeniable.
Yes. If I was going to tweet that out, I would want it to be undeniable, or at least. So I'm not saying that I think Nikita duplicated that in Photoshop and made it yellow. But what I'm saying is the image he gave everybody, how do we know he didn't just duplicate it and make one yellow? You know what I mean? If I was going to throw that out there, I would want to throw it out there with more than just yellow, gray. It's a match. That, you know, it's just that, and then the fact that people were like, take him to court. Look, we've got a yellow and we've got a gray dust cover. It's like, hey, that does seem suspicious to me, but.
And then the other half of the people were saying, no, they're identical, just different colors. Clearly he's lying. And here I am going,
we don't know either.
I'm like, hey guys, what the fuck am I looking at? And people are like, oh, you're not just
exactly.
You're clearly defending. And I'm like, I'm not gonna play either game. I don't care about either game. I literally, I'm never gonna play either game. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm asking
exactly.
Unironically, I'm just asking questions. Yeah. Unironically, like I'm not being the guy like, you know, Nikita, dude, tell me about Building 7.
What was the comment on the YouTube? Dude, Veritas. All Veritas did was ask questions to try to understand the one guy.
Yeah. The title of this episode should have been just Veritas asking
questions.
Veritas
is just asking questions? No.
To try to understand.
I agree. So my opinion is just that I'm wholly unconvinced of either side. I'm not saying Arena Breakout's in the clear. They didn't take anything. And I'm not saying that they took everything. I'm saying that, like, I'm just seeing pictures. What I'm saying is that if you pulled if I wanted to troll, if you wanted to troll, okay, let me set this up. What I'm saying is that if you wanted to troll and you decompiled DayZ and put DayZ dust covers next to Tarkov ones and big letters, it's a match on top, I wouldn't be able to tell. So I shouldn't plant my flag and make a decision knowing I wouldn't be able to tell if you got that from DayZ, Deadside, Scum, Tarkov, Arena Breakout. If I saw a video of you decompiling Arena Breakout, pulling it up, throwing it in Blender, putting it over top, then I'd be like, holy shit, they might have stole something. But you could, like, somebody more tech savvy than me literally could just start pulling dust covers from random games, coloring them and posting pictures, and they would engagement farm the shit out of Twitter right now. Because none of us actually know what we're looking at. So if there's any evidence here, I hope with as speedy of a process as possible, Nikita DMCA strikes them and gets it taken off Steam. If they stole, if they really did, and there's undeniable evidence, dude, do your thing. I doubt that they're ever going to go to court, but maybe they'd want to set them back by doing a DMCA strike or something. Like, do it. But I don't know. I shouldn't be the one to make that decision. You shouldn't be coming to anyone's Twitch chat asking them if these companies should duke it out. How the hell do I know? So
see now maybe. So I'm just very quickly clicking through the video to see. It looks like okay. Maybe this is what One Peg did in his video. What I would do, would literally, like, and I'll stage everything perfectly, right? I would have two folders on my desktop with my camera in the corner, right? One folder is EFT, C/user/whatever, EFT/ fucking guns.3D model file extension, whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
One for Tarkov, one for Arena Breakout. Double click it, open it up in Blender. Double click it, open it up in Blender. Grab them, zoom in, do whatever the fuck you do. Either they're exactly the same. So, like, here's my understanding, and these are all questions I don't know.
Same.
Either they're exactly the same, in which case, just simply by showing the two folders, right?
Yeah,
and that you. Then at least it's clear what you're doing. Yes. You could still be lying. For sure. But but it's not. What gets me is the ambiguity.
Yeah. But what gets me is the lack of effort. It's like, you're right that basically, as far as you wanted to take it, somebody could yell, maybe he did this in C drive and he did an executable. But But
let's assume I'm telling the truth.
There was zero effort to show that. And so I'm not saying that makes Nikita inherently suspicious. I'm not trying to be conspiratorial either direction. But that's all I'm saying, is that there was no even attempt to show where these came from. They weren't even labeled. And I know the point is that they're exactly the same, but then he released more pictures later. You know what I mean? It's like they weren't labeled. So that's all I'm saying. So I'm not planting a foot either way. And that's not fence sitting. That's called blowing. It's just the smoke away. You're just smoking, blowing smoke in my face. I'm like, I can't see. You know what I mean? That's like,
yeah. So there's a number of possibilities. Either the models are exactly the same, and that's the closest you're going to get to a smoking gun. Yeah. Assuming, again, taking one step back, my understanding is that I think they used, like, I don't know if it was like Quixel Mega Scans or whatever. They used like technology where I envision them putting like a gun in a box, and the box goes, and then it like generates a model, and they flip it over a couple times. Like, maybe that's what it does. I don't remember if that's exactly, but basically, assuming that they made those models from scratch, if they're exactly the same, I think it's pretty clear to say they stole it, right?
Yeah.
Now, if they're not exactly the same, because everybody's like, just check the poly count. If the number of polygons is the same, then that's pretty damning. Assuming that we're not talking about, like, the number's not like 15.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because there's a chance that one of the models would have the same poly count.
Sure.
But if we're talking like, 1,500 polygons or whatever, well then
the likelihood of them arriving.
It's very unlikely. Yeah. And then I would just look at like one or two others, and but somehow I doubt that that's the case. I'd be willing to bet that there's some difference in the poly count, whether or not it has to do with the engines, or if I was, when we all cheated in 5th grade on our spelling, or it's not spelling test, it's the one thing that you don't but like you copy your buddy's thing and you change the wording, right, like I'm sure there has to be, I don't know anything about fucking 3D modeling,
nothing,
but something tells me there's got to be a way to say smooth this out so there's more polygons, or reduce it down so there's less. And you could probably just do that to all the things, so the poly count isn't a smoking gun either. Really what you need is, just like everything, it's nuanced. I'm sure to somebody who, not somebody who's fucked around in Blender on a weekend or two, but like an actual professional, it's probably fairly trivial. The problem is that all these randos on Twitter, I can't tell if they're weekend Blender warriors. I can't, or if either. They know what the fuck they're talking about.
And that's the thing, is like, how can I make a stance if I can't even tell the difference between a weekend Blender warrior and an industry veteran? So who am I then to make the call on if they are, legit or not, when I can't even tell? Yeah. And then I've even seen some tweets from some other people in the industry who are like, in the industry, being like, I don't understand why they haven't just done this yet. Click vertices, snapping, boom, and if they're the same, they would show up the same. And so it's like other people in the industry are also confused as to the methodology, being like, why are we just showing green and gray slides? Like, why aren't we just like taking a video in Blender, turning on these settings, and you'd be able to tell? And then on the other side, the people that do, a lot of people in the community that have, decompiled the game or whatever for assets for like 3D thumbnails and stuff like that, haven't been able to even find the dust cover that Nikita tweeted in the game files. Now, once again, that's not a smoking gun that Nikita's lying. Do you see how I can bring things up and not say that? But what I'm saying is that that's another piece of evidence thrown on the floor, is that people can't even find in the game files anywhere, in any of the guns, the specific dust cover that happened to be the one that he tweeted. It's a match saying they stole. So I don't even like,
literally.
Yeah, go ahead.
Either all of these people have way more information than I do, or what's equally as likely, maybe even more likely, is that they have exactly the same information. They've just come to a conclusion with the same amount of information, that the only reasonable response is to say, what the fuck is what, like, I have no idea what's going on.
And putting that, and here's the thing, is putting the weight of it all in the height of the conversation still happening on the players, to me feels weird. You know what I mean? Like, if I heard that, like, yo, did you hear that Walmart has been evading taxes? It's like, oh, I didn't hear that. I'm going to still go shop at Walmart. And if the government shuts down the Walmarts because I'd be like, oh, damn, they did it. And then I'd go find another grocery store. You know what I mean? It's like, to literally just cast this shadow of like, if you're playing this game, you are supporting theft. And it's like, I'm not, if that's proven to be true, maybe that argument can be made. But until it is, I don't know how to determine whether the theft happened or not. It's also not my job to determine that. If there's a case to be made, make the case better or DMCA them or whatever. And then that would help players make much more informed decisions. You know what I mean? I don't know. So it's just weird, man. It's just weird. And some people, I don't even want to stay on it too long because it's so, I say that it's such a nothing burger from the sense of like what's provable. I'm not saying it's not an important conversation, and I'm not saying that good information isn't out there, but undoubtedly there's bad information out there. And if I'm not in a position to be able to determine the difference between good information and bad information, I am not in a position to make a decision about it. And if I'm not in a position to make a decision about it, then why would I be talking about it? And I think that's kind of like the logic train. That's where it stops for me. And if you've been in Blender since you were 7 years old and you're confident, like, okay, cool. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying.
Yeah, like so I'm going to respond to what somebody just said in chat because they probably know what they're talking about, and I'm going to say that I think they're wrong.
Okay.
Because what we're talking about here is it's logic in this case. So he said 1,000 hours in Blender here, so my 1K hour take is relevant. It's almost impossible to prove or disprove without older/source progress files from ABI's end. It's a dead end. You can easily steal a mesh and tweak the topology manually within 15 minutes with a few add-ons, downgrading it, blah, blah, blah. It's only a dead end if they did that.
Yeah.
If it's a lazy copy pasta from 4 years ago when they made their mobile game and they're identical, it's not hard.
So that,
right?
That proves what we said earlier. I 100% agree with you. It refers to what we said earlier. It's worth doing that because if they were that lazy, you always want to check the most obvious thing first, even if it's unlikely. Because if they were that lazy, then bada bing, bada boom. But to the point of if we check and they're not identical, that is also not inherently a smoking gun that nothing nefarious happened. Because, as this guy said, they could have taken it and done it, and maybe we need older source files. So, 100%. But the point of this conversation is not every level of evidence is smoking gun done. Like, oh, they're not the same. They didn't steal anything. Or, oh, this yellow and gray picture are the same. They stole everything. Like, no, like, are there alternate explanations? What can we use this as a foundation for evidence for an argument? Oh, if Nikita had done that where he posted a video of extracting the files and opening them both in Blender and putting them on top of each other and they were the same. Oh, that wouldn't be a smoking gun, but maybe we could use that as the foundation of an argument, whatever. But it's never that, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So yeah, that's it. Now, the other thing that came out of Nikita's kind of like rants. Well, okay, he did that little rant on Twitter and has been continuing to do that. Which, once again, whatever, I don't care. Do you. But that marked like a moment where he just became much more active on Twitter. Like he was responding to a lot of people's comments. He was doing XYZ. I think Velian posted something where he just like added Nikita and was like, yo, here are some things I think you should add to Tarkov. Basically just shooting his shot. And Nikita quote tweeted it and was like, send me your ideas. So that just broke a dam on Twitter, right? Of, Nikita's quote tweeting somebody throwing out their ideas, and Nikita's tweet is, send me your ideas for the game. So then we start seeing, a bunch of people tweeting a bunch of stuff. Then we got Gingy's tweet, which I believe was kind of what started it. Because she was like, hear me out, Nikita, do an event with no found in raid and test to see how it goes. If it's successful, then do this event at a similar time, or do this event like maybe every month, something like a black market weekend or something like that. And then Nikita responded, and out of that, that was kind of the catalyst for what then started the found in raid discussions again. Then you had Nikita being like, just randomly tweeting, yo, next week, we're going to try a no found in raid event. And then, let's see, when did he tweet that? May 11th, planning to remove found in raid for Flea Market as a test. And then May 12th, okay, some changes coming in the next few hours. And then on the 12th, they made the change. So that was kind of like, it was like Nikita did this rant. Then he was just super active. Then people were throwing suggestions. Then he was like, yeah, keep coming with suggestions. Then Gingy made this tweet, and then it just like it escalated so quickly to an event in Tarkov where Found in Raid was removed. And then that spawned a bunch of conversations about, like, as it always does, this is not our first rodeo. The secure container, Nikita, he was even tweeting like, I don't know, I don't want people to get endgame gear too quickly. XYZ, people like, we should lock the secure container, we should remove the secure container. It just all happened. But did you see, like, did you read through the patch notes? Because it was on Twitter. It wasn't like on the official forum patch notes for what the patch was. It was.
I didn't even read. I didn't read the patch notes when I played the game. So
yeah, fair. Okay. They did
so fucking boring.
They did a lot more than just turn off the flea market. They that was the first thing, though. We have removed the found in raid requirement for placing offers on the flea market. We will closely monitor feedback during the event and make additional balance adjustments if necessary. But then they also just went crazy once again, turning the dials. Didn't we just talk about this? Oh no, we talked about it on the Patreon because this had happened at that point, but we should talk about it here. They had just adjusted a bunch of dials to 11. You know, there were a bunch of dials set to 2, and the community was like, what if we did a 5 or a 6? And they ripped it to 11. They adjusted.
Well, the community said, what if we
changed it?
Numbers?
Yeah, true.
And they said, okay, cool.
Yeah. They adjusted. They buffed loot on every map except for streets, just stock standard loot. Then on all maps, they increased the chance of rare loot spawning in locked rooms. They reduced the base inertia strength by 20%. They increased the overweight capacity by 15%. They increased base stamina capacity by 15%. They increased how much skill points you get when using the gym in the hideout. They added more scavs to interchange. They increased the amount of slots you have on the flea market. They added PvP 9mm for sale at level 4 proper. They increased the value of selling dog tags. And then they made labs free for like 8 hours or like 12 hours or something. But so that was like a lot more than just removing found in raid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sans the found in raid stuff, a lot of W's. Marked loot, locked room loot definitely needed adjustments. All 3 of those were bang, 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 winner, winner, winner. Reduce base inertia strength, increase overweight limit, increase base stamina capacity, WWW. To me, and that's all great. So yeah, it was very interesting. But what got dialed to 11 was the locked rooms loot. Marked rooms are insane now. Insane.
Well, so wait a minute. So forgive me for forgetting some of the details because I've seen so many things back and forth. I forget. So are there like a lot of shit, like a lot more things you can get on the flea market now?
No. So they didn't remove the restrictions on what can or cannot be bought or sold on the flea. They just removed needing to have it be found in raid.
Gotcha.
Meaning I can kill a player and sell his gun and see. So this is where it gets weird though, because I've played 2 full days. So I played roughly 15 hours of Tarkov. I haven't noticed the non-found in raid flea stuff outside of like valuable items. Because a lot of people, it's so hard. There's so many subsets of the community. A lot of people wanted the no found in raid because they wanted PvP to be profitable. And if you can sell player gear, which I think is a fair argument, the game has increasingly become more about loot, like trinkets, and not about gear. You know what I mean? We are often leaving behind guns, magazines, and armors because, you know, it's like the vase is worth more per slot. Take the moonshine. So we're ending up leaving a lot of gear behind, and so I think that was a desire. As far as gear goes, I haven't noticed any difference with the found in raid flea because I can't sell high tier ammos. Those are still restricted. I can't sell class 5 or 6 plates. Those are still restricted. And I would say guns and attachments, that market definitely fluctuated because now you can kill a guy and take his suppressor off and sell that suppressor on the flea, and maybe those suppressors are worth a decent amount of money. So I'm not saying it hasn't affected anything, but what I'm saying is that the restrictions are still there. So high level ammos and class 5 or 6 armor plates still can't be sold on the flea. But I've died with graphics card in my butt. I've died with a blue key card in my butt. And I was able to sell all that on the flea. So, you know what I mean? That feels good. Again, you know.
Now, remind me, because I've been out of this for so long.
Yeah.
Like, what would have been the actual difference with what they have now versus, like, let's just say they increased the sale price to traders by like 10x or whatever?
Yeah. So as far as gear, not much. Right? They could have just increased the price of player gear, ammo, armor, and stuff like that to the traders. Which is, like I said, in my experience, which isn't a whole experience, right? But in my experience, I've more noticed it on being able, like, finding something valuable, putting it in my secure container, dying with it, and knowing, like, the difference I feel is I got a blue key card out of Marked, and I wanted to then push PvP, right? Like,
as opposed to
leaving immediately.
Out.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like, oh, I hear guys coming. I already got it. Let's go. You know what I mean? So that is how it's affected my gameplay more so. It's because, like, oh, I got a docs case and a blue key card. I've got this now. Let's go fight. You know what I mean? Or let's go help you with your quest or whatever. As a quick note before we dive into, like, the found and raid stuff, but the marked rooms got turned to 11, dude. In one day, I think Gingy found 8 colored key cards. I have found 4. Velian has found like 7. Like, it is just like on a 10 use marked room, you're gonna find. I've seen so many. And it's not just streamers, right? So many people in my chat like, yo, I bought a marked key, and on my first pull, I found a red and a blue and a taiga. So I know that people are like, it's a big conversation because people are like, it makes marked rooms fun again, and I agree. I just think that the keys won't be worth anything soon, right? If we 50x the supply, they won't be cool things anymore. And there were other ways to make marked room cool and make it something to fight over. It's fun. And if it's just for an event, like, I'm not here to poo-poo on anyone's parade. It feels cool to find a green or a blue or 3 reds. You know what I mean? It's cool. But I'm saying, like, as a permanent addition to the game with this much loot, with this many colored keycards, in my opinion, it sours the experience long term.
Yeah, and ignore like a temporary event, just conceptually for the game. One of the most important aspects of game design is balancing the good and the bad.
Yeah.
If you, like life, right? If the like awesome things, you know, the red key cards and the bitcoins are ubiquitous, they're just fucking everywhere, then it's no longer exciting or awesome. Then at that point, the awesomeness just comes from inherent rarity and not necessarily value. Like, then everybody would be looking for this one particular fucking armband that no one wears because it just happens to be the
Twitch Rivals armband. You used to be able to barter for anything on the Flea just because it was rare. It had no value.
So it's one of those things that there has to be some amount of, like, if you have a marked key, you can't have every one of the unlocks be this epic thing.
Exactly.
That's really awesome. It's really awesome for 1 or 2 keys, and then it's no longer exciting because now you have everything. You have more than you need.
Yeah.
You really need. It needs to be like gambling, where you hit a jackpot twice out of a 20 use key or whatever.
100%.
Because sometimes you'll get unlucky, and that sucks. But what that means is that when you actually hit the jackpot, it's exciting because of the rarity, the scarcity of it.
It is literally how people describe Tarkov. You have to have the bad raids so the good raids feel good. Like, that's like such a common thing to say. Like, when I die or something, it's like, dude, sometimes I mess up, or I have a bad raid, or I have a bad day, and that makes the good days feel better. It's the same thing. Like, you got to pull some crappy marked turns to make the good ones feel good. Additionally, if this was at the beginning of a wipe, like, everybody's selling their key cards on the Flea and people are buying them because people are rich. But if this was the beginning of the wipe, why would someone spend 40 million on a red when they can spend 2 million on a marked key and have an 80% chance of pulling a red? You know what I mean? You could go through 7 or 8 marked keys and still be in the green, and then you could sell everything else that you pulled out of marked. So, the value of these keys will plummet.
And everything inherently comes with a cost, right? Like, we're talking about an economy here, which means the moment you start adding massive amounts of money into the economy, right? Where, like, let's say the key card is 5 million rubles. If that key now can net you 5 of those key cards, well, now the key brings in the value of 25 million rubles. And that money, the money is being like the value, right, is being generated from nowhere. You end up with inflation, basically.
For sure.
To the point where it's like I said, everything has a cost, right? If you were to go to a casino and the casino said, okay, the way that we play blackjack is we pay 5x when you hit blackjack, and all of our dealers hit unless they have 20. But also, it's $53,000 to park your car, and the drinks are $1,000.
Yep.
It's like, you might have a bunch more money, but
everything costs more.
If the marked key costs you 50 million to buy because you're going to get 55 million right. So it just ends up being a race to the bottom.
Yes, and
where it's no longer necessarily as fun and as cool. You have to find the sweet spot.
Yes. And once again, if this is truly just they're like the economy's already scuffed, let's just do this as a fun event, I am for it. It is fun. Because when you have a status quo for so long, and when you break it, even if long term it's a bad idea, it's fun for a little bit. And so if this is like a 1-week event at the end of a wipe where everyone already has 1 billion rubles, that's totally fine. Like, I'm fun. Me and Valiant ran marked rooms all day because it's attracted a ton of PvP, and it's fun to get a color key card. So I'm all for it. What both of us are talking about is more if this was a permanent change. And then somebody else said something too, which is so true, which is that the colored key cards are the only key cards in the game that have infinite uses. So you could buy red, run it 1 million times, and then sell it for the same price. So the supply never goes down. Marked keys, they get consumed.
It's not really an investment.
Yeah, the marked keys get consumed. The supply goes down as people use them all, but this supply is only going to go up. And then fourthly at this point, all the keys also suck. So when the people that just want full labs key sets have them, the values will plummet because nobody's running blue. Like, you know what I mean? The key cards are bad. But then people will demand that they buff blue, and now every room has really good stuff in all of them. The snowball happens. So once again, if it's an event and if it's just a fun thing, I'm for it. If it's a permanent change, and here's the thing, once again, we talked about this on the Patreon here, is that I get frustrated. Like, I get frustrated when I'm in a good faith argument with somebody and they go do something way to the extreme because like to spite you, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, hey, do you mind not parking so close to my car? And they park in the middle of the cul-de-sac, blocking my neighbor's driveway. And then they go, you asked for this.
With you the entire time they walk.
Yeah. And they're like, you asked for this. Like, I hate that. And so it's one of those things where I have advocated for, I wish marked rooms were better because they have been really bad. There's not like, it's all you can really get is good guns and maybe a Bitcoin every once in a while. But I don't think anybody was, asking for necessarily this. But so if it's just an event, I'm super down with it. It has been a blast to farm these key cards and taigas.
So here's the thing. I agree with you. Everything you just said. One thing I want to interject, I guess, like, because I don't hear anybody saying this, and that is like, these kinds of things are cool, but like the timer is ticking. They just keep demonstrating that they don't know what the fuck they're doing with their economy.
Oh,
and they're doing all of these experiments that are kind of just like, on one hand, some folks want to say, think, argue, debate, whatever, that like we're learning about how we should do things.
Yeah.
But you have that's an uphill battle to make that argument, given that we are in like starting off in a very unique, specific world with a specific player base, with a specific economy, and then making these radical changes.
Yeah.
That then, if you have these changes from the start of another wipe, like we're not learning. We're not learning.
If it's under the guise of learning, I fully see what you're saying. It doesn't track because if you really wanted to learn, you would make smaller adjustments because they'd be more meaningful lessons learned than jacking everything up to 11 and just be like, well, we're trying to figure things out. It's like,
yeah. So again, so people are like, we should make this is how it goes, right? People don't realize, they don't look back to see where the beginning of the cycle was, where it was like, there's problems. Let's experiment so that we can see what will work and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Then they make all of the wrong changes, turn everything to 12 so that we won't actually get like it's a caricature of whatever. And then everybody goes, yeah, but this is fun. So like, let us just have the fun. And it's like, but the entire point was to make, like fix the economy and the balancing and all the other things. And now it's a clown fiesta, right? There's a bubble pit in the bouncy kingdom.
But that was what was weird about this change specifically, the marked rooms, was because most of the conversation on Twitter was around Found and Raid. Then Nikita said, I'm going to do an event next week where we take away Found and Raid. Then he tweeted, today we're doing the event where we take away Found and Raid. And then they snuck in there this huge buff. So like they never said it was for learning purposes or it was for a fun event. It just happened randomly. And so we can't even trace that back to like, this creator made this suggestion. It came from here and they said they wanted to learn from it. It just randomly started happening. And so it's hard to even ascertain, like, do they view this as a fun event or do they view it as a learning thing? I don't know.
And then Nikita posts a poll out to the fucking community to say like, okay, what did you think of this change I made? And it's 48.9% versus 48.7%. It's like, so what is Nikita going to do? Like,
yeah.
What?
Well, and
the fuck?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that was different. Anyways, hold on. Well, let's see. Okay. So what I want to do is now talk about Found and Raid, not Found and Raid. That fiasco. We talked a little bit about it on the Patreon.
Did you read my essay?
I read your essay. I'm scripting out a video of my own. I had some like fun conversations with chat. I want to talk about that. But before we do, I do want to take a second and thank the sponsor for this episode, and that is Factor. With summer coming, if you can fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals, meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Faction is ready to eat meal kits. You just pop them in, you heat them up. It takes a few minutes. You have chef created meals that are balanced. And like it said, you can cater them how you want. That's what we love about Factor is the flexibility of you. If you want less calories, if you want more protein dense, if you want keto, You have that flexibility, and it's easy and convenient. And in my life right now, with how jam-packed every minute of my day is, convenience is of the utmost importance to me. And Factor's pretty great for that.
Yeah. Can we talk about how I had all lined up my roasted garlic chicken Factor meal that I was going to eat today? Went upstairs, found out my wife ate it for lunch, so I couldn't eat it for dinner, and I needed to pay $30 for Chipotle, and I feel like I'm dying right now. There's just like,
there you go.
Oh God, being able to eat convenient, good food is, you really feel it when you have inconvenient, expensive, not good food.
No,
right?
For sure. 100%.
The best way to feel it.
It's the holy grail. You know what I mean? It's the holy grail that we've been looking for, as in the sense of like, convenient food has often been the worst, but it's been convenient. You know what I mean? And so this is like, it can be convenient and it can be balanced and it cannot be too much. You know what I mean? It can be all those things. So there's over 35 different meals each week that you get to choose from. Over 60 add-ons you can choose from. Some of the stuff they sent us are their smoothies, which are really good. They're these little like wellness shots that are really good. It's really nice. Keeps cleaning down, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's great. So you can head to factormeals.com/pogcast50 and use code POGCAST50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That is code POGCAST50 at factormeals.com/POGCAST50. 50% off your first box, 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Thank you so much to Factor for sponsoring this episode. Okay. So I'm not even like sometimes when we come here and we talk about stuff, it's like drama. We talked a little bit about on the Patreon about like my the leaf I'm turning of just like, I just don't care. And that not care allows me to care in a different way. So going into this Found and Raid conversation, I actually am not even like, I'm not emotionally drained from reading all this stuff on Twitter because I just don't really care. It's just the way I explained it earlier was, this was such a line in the sand for them. They said they were never, ever, ever, ever going to change. And you can think what you want, whether it's because Arena Breakout or because the Unheard drama, whatever you want to think. They crossed that line. They broke it. They said they were never going to get rid of the flea market. They said they were never going to remove Found and Raid. They did. So what's just happened naturally is discussions around the system and how to make it better. And I think you kind of retweeted your original pitch or video that you did a while back.
No, so I quote tweeted Deadly Slob.
Oh yeah.
But I screenshotted my video from April of 2019.
Yeah.
Where I
2019.
April of 2019, literally 5 years ago.
Yeah.
In a video that was like, did BSG fix the quests or not? Which was a follow-up to a video where I said an open letter to BSG about fixing their quests.
Yeah.
And like Found and Raid. And then they made changes. And then I did a video. And in that video, I made a fairly robust proposal.
Yeah. Which was, kind of elaborate that on what's the TLDR on that? Because everything I've been thinking is kind of piggybacking on that. So I think that's a good foundation.
I need the Morgan Freeman. Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
In the beginning, Nikita created a variable. Yeah, so right now, what we have, is there's a single Boolean value. It is true or false.
Yep.
1 or a 0, dictating Found and Raid versus not Found and Raid. Okay?
Yep.
Now, people who, if you go into my chat and you do the !FIR command, you will be linked a tweet with my photo.
Yes.
The page doesn't exist. Search for something. Did my tweet get deleted?
No, I looked it up today.
Oh, they put a period in the link. Okay, so yeah, you need to click on the link and then it puts a period. I need to fix the command or a comma or something. Okay. Anyway, so where I literally have like a flow chart of, this was in October of 2021.
Yes.
Where I explained how I thought the found in raid feature was bad. Because effectively what you have is, was it found in raid? And if the answer is yes, well, then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ways in which you end up with that item being not found in raid when when it's back in your stash. And then on the flip side, there's 7 other things for which the item was never in a raid, and yet it's found in raid. So it's like a lot of the things you get that you found in raid are not found in raid, and a lot of things you get that you never found in raid are. So that was me basically saying, like, this is why the system is nonsensical. Whether you think it's like good for the game or not is separate from whether or not it's coherent.
Correct.
Right? If you call you're holding the red cube, right? And it's a blue sphere, then red cube is a bad name for the thing.
Yeah, you can make an argument that naming this thing is good because we can refer to it and understand. The group of us now know what we're talking about. That you could make that argument.
Well,
separate
this cube
from that,
has a use.
I
use the cube for a thing.
I would say that's a bad name. Yeah.
So basically, me just being like, how I think it's, I think it was confusing, and you could tell by a lot of the responses, which I'll get to after, that people don't understand what found in raid means, which proves my point.
Correct.
I said found in raid is nonsense, and people go, "What do you mean?" Disagree with me, and then explain it. Wrong. And my whole point for why it's nonsense is that people misunderstand it. So it's like, thank you for proving my point. So what my proposal was is, rather than have one true or false value that is determined by crafting and or surviving and or whether it came in with a player, whether you died with it, whether it was a quest reward, all of these a million disparate, disconnected things that can all change this value to true or false, that then dictates so much of what you can do. Turn it in for quests, sell it on the flea market. It's the epitome of spaghetti, where there's just all of these things that are like intertwined. So what my proposal was, and it's what I screenshotted on my tweet, I literally just typed out some sample like class diagram. It's literally just like pseudocode, where I say there are, I think I proposed 3 or 4 new variables that could be added to items, and all they need to be are integers. There's something called an enumerated value, an enum, which is basically, it's like it's a number, but the number maps to a thing. So the first one I had was enum, was map spawn, and none was 0, shoreline was 1, interchange was 2, customs 3, right? And by looking and see what the map spawn number is, you know where it spawned. And if it was none, you know that it didn't
spawn in a raid.
It wasn't initialized. The object wasn't created in like a loot container or on a scav. So that tells you where it came from. Now, if the map spawn was shoreline, you don't know if it was in the boss's pockets.
Correct.
If it was in a container. So there's another enum that is scav spawn. 0 is none. 1 is player, i.e. player scav. I had normal, sniper, guard, raider, you know, and then Rashala, Killa, you know, whatever the... So that indicates
where it came from.
If and or what entity it spawned on. And then I had another value, trader spawn, with all the traders, 0 being none, meaning if it was something that, you know, when the trader restocks, all of those items they either get initialized there, or they almost definitely don't get initialized there. They probably get initialized when you buy it. When you buy it, then it probably creates it. They don't have just like 10,000 things they just have sitting there like in the memory. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they did it, but that would be brain dead. But so with those 3 integer values, you now know Okay, so there's actually a couple more. I also wanted three integer like counters.
Okay.
Raid count, market sale count, owner count. So if you go hit enter raid, you're sitting there waiting for players. Well, as soon as you enter the raid, you're like, whoop, you spawn in. All of the items, their raid count goes up 1.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Market sale count is the moment that item gets sold.
Yep.
Not put up for sale,
but actually
sold.
purchased. Yeah.
Market sale count goes up 1.
Yep.
Owner count is if I have an item and I drop it on the ground and you pick it up.
Yep. Owner count goes up.
Then now there's some cases around there where maybe it should go up when it's like brought back to your stash, your inventory, or extracted. Maybe again, there's some. The details don't matter. Of course, these are the things you need to think about when you're designing these things.
Of course.
So with these 6 variables, now I know some people are like, "Oh, this is so much extra." Trust me, it really isn't.
Yeah.
This is the way you fucking you do things. With the 6 integers.
Yep. You can do so much.
You know if it was, and now this was before the crafting existed.
Yeah.
So there could be maybe a different variable that would either take into consideration crafting, or crafting, there could be its own thing, because maybe there's different kinds of crafts. I forget the details, right? But maybe you have one more, maybe not, whatever. But effectively, with just a few integers, you know if it's been sold, if it's been dropped, if it's been taken into raid, if it was bought from a trader, if it was given as a quest reward, you know everything.
Yep.
Everything about it. So now all of these complicated things, which is like, let's say there's a quest and BSG really wants you to have to go and find a thing.
Yep.
The way they do that now is by making it found in raid.
Yeah.
And or making it so they make it found in raid.
Yeah.
Or they make it so that it's like the golden pocket watch, where it's literally like not an item, you have to go get it.
Yeah.
Or they make it so that like it's a static spawn on like a particular character only, so that like you're forced to like they finagle it in some way that it's like most 98% of the time when you have this item, it satisfies what they really wanted.
Yes.
Without really being specific about it.
Yeah.
Where one of the use cases that I explained was, there's one of the quests where Jaeger says there's a guy, this ex-athlete that's fucking around in the mall and interchange.
Oh.
He's really annoying. He's trouble. Can you just fucking get rid of him? Like he's a problem and we need him gone. And then he also makes mention of, and also like bring his helmet.
Yeah.
Or something. So the way I interpret that, okay, so this is me trying to be a little bit creative with the lore and whatever. The idea is like, I don't care how, why, who, what, he's a problem. We just need him gone, right? You ever see the boss just like, I don't care how you take care of it, just take care of it. Right?
Yeah. And prove to me that you did.
Yeah. Bring me back his fucking finger or his ear or, his favorite jacket or whatever it is, right? Now, with the current system, they would have to do some special coding to like make that work.
Yep.
It would probably require that you need a kill a gear found in raid.
Yeah.
But also that you would need to, your bullet needs to be the thing that causes his health to go down to 0.
Yes.
And in very much the same way that a lot of the quests are like now survive and extract.
Yeah.
They don't like they don't care that you.
Yeah.
They don't care if you survive and extract. It's kind of irrelevant to the quest. That's a way of like, it's almost like making the quest found in, like making that raid found in raid.
Yeah.
It's like adding on additional because they didn't give themselves the flexibility to program it specifically. So in this case, all you would need to do all the quest needs is turn in an item, one of these 5 IDs. It would either be the face shield, whatever,
the kill armor,
the armor, the helmet, the face shield, his gun, or even his chest
rig. Yeah. Yep.
As long as the owner count was 1.
Yep.
The market sale count was 0. The raid count was 1. And the
scav count.
The scav was the scav spawn was 7, which was Killa.
Yeah.
Then boom, problem solved. So
it's
just turn in the item.
Uncheesable. It is uncheesable.
And it also, so how often do we make the argument that this is a team game? It's a squad game, right?
Yeah.
How often were we complaining about how things were challenging for solo players and people are like, yeah, but it's a team game, so blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what happens when you and your 3 buddies are all on the same quest and you're lighting up Killa, you get him down to 3 HP, then your buddy goes dink in the kneecap and he dies.
Yep.
The asshole just got credit for the quest and you didn't.
Yep.
Jaeger doesn't care. First of all, it's immersion breaking that you have to, that if he's only in 1 out of every 4 raids, that you'd have to do 20 fucking raids to be able to like
get you and your whole friends
to have you and your squads to do it, right? Whereas you work together, you all killed him, you should all get credit. So in that case, all you need to do is let's all fucking
grab
split
a piece. Shit. Yep.
That's your souvenir, your trophy that like I killed him, right? But then think about, there's all these like movies. There's scenes I'm picturing that I don't remember what movies they're from, but it's almost comedic in a way. Imagine being like, all right, I'm gonna kill him, whatever, and then you roll up on him and you see that like Killa's dead, and then a player's dead, and there's just like 2 grenade explosion marks like, on the ground, and you're like,
easy job.
Huh. You take his loot and you leave. He's dead. Jaeger doesn't care.
Yeah.
It sucks to suck for that other guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a chance to turn in the quest, right? But you did. So it makes it so that there are a couple of situations in which you kind of get lucky and you could get credit for it because that's actually how it would work, right? Jaeger, see, the way people are interpreting this is they want to think that like you're dragon porn, you're the chosen one, and like Jaeger's like, I want to test you.
Yeah.
You need to kill. Jaeger doesn't care about you. You're a you are a tool. You're a random fucking errand boy.
Yeah.
They don't care if you do it. He just wants it done, right?
Yep.
So
for sure. No, 100%. Also, side fact, we didn't actually, I thought you said dragon porn too, and then afterwards somebody put in chat dragon porn. That's what I thought you said. You said dragon porn.
Sponsored by what's that? Batdragon.com.
Oh my god. What was I gonna say? Oh, side tangent. We talked last week a lot about some of the quality of life things that Arena Breakout has over Tarkov. Arena Breakout has shared, like if you and our buddy are on the same quest, it's to literally kill enemies in a specific area. They count when you're squatted up. It's so nice. Nobody was like, this isn't hardcore. Like everybody was like, sick.
And a bunch of people were arguing that like, so they're like, oh well, so then you would get credit if you're just like in interchange and someone kills Killa. It's like, well, no, you'd have to find the body and loot him. And again, that's war, baby. Like, again,
it's hardcore.
Jaeger doesn't give a fuck. He just wants it. And they act as if that makes it like trivially easier or something. As if everyone's just gonna, you guys just randomly come across Killa dead all the time.
Yeah, completely unlooted.
Like, is that a thing, right? Like,
So a lot there. We went through a lot, and I don't want to get too in the weeds on that one quest because what you went through is infinitely better than what we have, and there's like so many points I want to hit on that. First of all, top level view. I tweeted this out because I think I quote tweeted you, and I think like for a long time I was too focused on like the naming convention of it and how I hated that, where like some things weren't found in raid, but they were found in raid, and some things were found in raid, but they don't count as found in raid. And that is a valid criticism of it. But I think for a long time, I just wasn't able to see the forest for the trees on the name is the least of the system's concern. The system, you could call it whatever you want. It would still be a bad system because you can't reduce every single type of interaction in this game down to a binary. It's found in raid or not. You could change the name of that binary to whatever you want. And so I quote tweeted you, and I was just like, it's crazy how people, including myself, didn't think about it this way. It seems ridiculous that we ever thought that every piece of loot from every type of enemy of any survival status that was acquired in or out of raid could be reduced down to found in raid or not found in raid. Sometimes adding complexity to a solution results in a more simplistic user experience. Because that's the thing, is that I think people get lost in the weeds when they hear the fact that it took you 4 solid minutes to explain all the enums and what the inner integers would be and stuff like that. People go, that's too complicated. But it's that what you just described isn't what's complicated. What's complicated is the game.
Yeah.
Right? You can find something and die with it. You can find something and survive with it. You can find something and survive with it and get a run through. You can get something off a scav. You can get something off a PMC. You can get something. You can craft something. You can buy something from a trader. The game is complicated. So when you take a complicated game that has a problem and think, well, complicated solutions, complicated workarounds, man, they just add. And what you do is you squeeze it all down into a binary. The resulting experience is arbitrary. It's often completely blind to the players. It's not explained to them. It's confusing. And so I like had that aha moment as I was like thinking about this and reading your tweet, where it's like the naming convention found in raid is terrible, but that's the least of its worries. You could call it whatever you want. It's just too complicated of a game. And a great example, you touched on this, but I want to dive into it further, which is like quests and being able to turn in something. You know how people are always, not obviously not everybody, but a lot of people are always talking about like, I wish we had the old Tarkov back when it was really hardcore. Back before the Flea, before anything, when Tarkov was really hardcore, if I needed a power cord for a quest and I found one and I put it in my alpha container and I died, I could turn that power cord in. That's old Tarkov.
And it took you fucking 7 days of running interchange
to find the power cord.
cord.
So what happened was we could turn in stuff that wasn't found in raid for quests because the game and the player at that point in time knew that you did what you were supposed to do. You risked your kit, you went into a raid, and you found the item. That was enough. Survivor status didn't matter. That was enough. You did the thing. The flea market was added to the game, and one of the many, I'm not saying this is the only reason Found in Raid was added, but one of the many issues was that you could buy your way through virtually the entire quest line in the game. So,
which trivialized all progression.
Yes. So they added the Found in Raid system, which didn't, so like, it was this hard to complete this quest. The Flea came, and it got way easier. Found in Raid came and it didn't fix the problem. It made it now way harder because now I can't buy it off the Flea, and also I can't go into a raid, die with it, and turn it in. Because
or go into a raid and extract too soon.
Exactly. And the reason is because the solution is, once again, it's a like we're pulling this down to one thing, because with this one thing, with this one power cord, we're showing that one binary is not enough, because it used to be this easy. Then I could buy it on the Flea. But now it goes crazy because now I can't buy it on the Flea and turn it in. I can't find it and die with it and turn it in. I can't find it, survive with it, but not have 200 XP and turn it in. So the game didn't then become as it was. It got harder for no reason, because once again, pre the flea market, nobody was saying me being able to turn in this power cord is too easy. But now we have a weird circle where it was a good amount of difficulty. Then it got way too easy. Everybody said it was too easy. Then it got much, much harder. Most people came into the game after it was much, much harder. And now the thought of making this easier seems to be sacrificing the soul of Tarkov because you're making it easier. But this is the way it was. None of the developers intended for this thing to get harder. It just got harder as a result of a poorly constructed solution to a previous problem. So, and that's just one thing. That's just the loot for the quests.
Yep.
You can apply that same logic to literally everything. You want PvP to be more profitable? The same thing happened. Nobody, like before, BSG didn't care that people were making money selling gear to the traders. It was just they opened up the flea market and now people were flying through, so they made a decision. The decision to add Found and Raid had nothing to do with the profitability of PvP, but it got caught in the crossfire because they tried to reduce the whole goddamn game down to a binary of yes or no. And so it's just like you can take any one of these things and see how it was here, the pendulum swung one way, and because of the way they did it, it swung super far the other way. And in most cases, you could make an argument that it was completely unintentional. They weren't trying to make PvP less profitable when they added Found and Raid. They were just trying to stop people from buying their way through the quests. But now it is that way. And the argument is just remove Found and Raid, keep Found and Raid. Remove Found and Raid, keep Found and Raid. And it's like,
everybody sees where we're standing. And they're all arguing whether or not this is exactly where we meant to be without realizing that like half the time we were blindfolded, half the time we were drunk, half the time it was nighttime, we were crawling on our hands and knees.
Exactly.
Like, people also forget about what Found in Raid was. I don't remember if this was the initial thing, but it was more specific. So before, Found in Raid only triggered when you had a quest for that item active.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So if you looted wires from a box in Raid, you extracted with it and put it in your stash and it sat there. Then you went to the trader, started the quest, and they said, give me wires. That wasn't Found in Raid.
I remember that, dude.
You needed to have, and that's part of why I made that video, was because it was broken. My God. Even then. It was like, why is you getting the Found in Raid status of an item was bound to whether or not you had an open instance of the quest at the time.
So you couldn't even save items.
You couldn't go and get your like 4 cowboy hats ahead of time.
I remember that. Wow.
So that was another thing, right? And so people keep talking about how the feature was intended. They don't realize this is the 74th iteration. Before we had Found in Raid 2 or 3 or 4 versions of it.
Yep.
And it wasn't tied to run through, but then it was tied to run through, and it wasn't tied to crafting, but then they added crafting. But then people were saying you should be able to do this with crafting. So then they made it so then crafting could do. And what you end up with, just like you said, is, and this is kind of the way that I see this argument is, when you were a kid, I don't know, did your dad or anybody like in your family ever do any like handiwork, any tool building, anything around the house, anything like that? Oh yeah. My dad was always doing stuff, and I was always like over, his shoulder, like, and he'd always be like, "Can you go get me the socket wrench, or can you go get me the screwdriver?" Right? Yep. And it was always like, I'm on a mission to go find the thing. He's like, I'll time you, whatever. And I never could find anything. But imagine if you had, what we have is one giant drawer that has some t-shirts and a wrench and a screwdriver and a television and an HDMI cable and a light bulb. It's got everything in it. And you're looking for the one thing that's specific, right? And here I am. I roll in the really nice tool cart that has a printed label that says screwdrivers, imperial bolts, metric bolts, like all the things. And people are like, "Oh, this is so complicated. I don't know, why would they have to do this?" And it's like,
I just arrived. That's the perfect analogy. That's the perfect analogy, because like if you're a mechanic you need all these tools. So you already have them all. You already have a freaking 55-gallon drum of different size wrenches and sockets and drill bits. You already have those things. To then say the guy suggesting the labeled toolbox is trying to overcomplicate things is insanity.
Yeah.
It's either you're trying to overcomplicate it by buying more tools than you need, or you need all these tools. Let's organize them. That is a great analogy.
And I'll take it one step further, because this was actually the most common response I got, and I couldn't get. These people are Tarkov flat earthers, like the equivalent of them. Because so in this analogy, okay, I'm picturing like a Meineke, the inside of a fucking, you know, right? There's like a bunch of tool, you know, like workbenches, right?
Yeah.
And on the workbenches are just like boxes of like tax paperwork from 2004.
Yeah.
It's just junk, right? You've got you folding laundry. It's just covered in garbage, right?
Yeah.
And here I am with like this nice rollout cart. Actually, it's not even that. It's a handheld toolbox that has, you know, 5 compartments, right? And I'm like, this would be great. And people are going, do you realize how much room that's going to take up in here? We can't afford to have that. People are fucking telling me, unironically, saying,
like that would hurt performance.
How well would this extra data per item scale if it's persisted? Would you want a few of these counters to be reset, or is the intention for the data to persist to the lifetime? Now, some people were like, one guy said, I'm not going to be able to find it because this tweet popped off and there's 8 billion responses, but he's basically like, so is that going to be free? Is that a part of the thing, or like, or basically saying like trying to justify DLC or like microtransactions because like this was going to be an expense.
Oh my
God. You expect them to house the data for all this for free?
Oh my God.
So and then in response, I ended up responding, and I want to pull this up just to show you guys, because I actually tried to screenshot it and I couldn't, because it would have been too big and low res to be compelling. Okay. Let me see if I can pull up what I was proposing, right, was maximum. Let's say worst case, they're 10 integers. Okay. I want to show you. Let's see. Will this work? Of course not. I want to show you what the data for an item looks like.
Oh,
just to give you an idea
like
of
right
like
now?
what we have. Yeah.
Okay.
Boom. Okay. So this is. I want to pull up a firearm. So what I was proposing, right, was effectively like adding, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these, right?
Okay.
Every item, it's got ID, all these strings, there's numbers, gas, caliber, center of impact, the class, then it's got the description, right? We just have a paragraph of nonsense, right? All of these variables, and then there's this object that has grid. So we've got this is just the color of like the, I don't know, inventory square or whatever, the height and the width, whatever, the heat factor, blah, 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 manufacturer. You got a bunch of different modes. You've got all this other stuff, the recoil. Okay. Then you have slots.
Okay.
The upper has a charging handle slot. Here's the filter that tells you all of the IDs of all of the items that go there, that can fit there for charging handle.
Okay.
So this right here is like 10 times the data of everything I proposed right here. And this is just the filter for one mod.
Yeah.
But then you have the magazine.
Yep. Yeah.
Then the pistol grip. And these people are like, you expect BSG to go and do 6
You know how many servers they'll need?
You know how many extra terabytes, petabytes of data that you need to store all this information? Receiver. How many receivers are there? How many stocks can you fit on there? And again, this is how many items we're dealing with just for the firearms. And I want to track 6 single-digit numbers, right?
Yep.
And the people double, triple, quadruple down. Like, it's like, dude, it's just, there's no excuse.
It's truly an inability to understand. It's just full ignorance as to like how much information weighs. You know what I mean? And how much information already exists. And to be fair, I too am ignorant on it, but I am also not harassing you, on Twitter,
don't make
about
arrogant assertions.
How many, AWS servers they're going to need to house all the data.
Yeah. So, and then there's one other aspect. What was I just going to say? Oh, and also here's how I would have designed this if I were them. My understanding, and it's been a few years since I've looked at this, so for all I know, it's changed. But the last time I looked at this, it was like when the player loads into a raid, think about it like a tree, right? Like a tree structure where you have like a circle with like lines coming off it in a circle, right? Like, you know what a tree structure looks like. So what you just saw, all of that stuff for that firearm was one node in a tree. So then imagine you have player, helmet.
Oh, yeah.
That was the upper we looked at, right?
Yeah.
So then there's the upper, then there's the lower, all the attachments, then there's the rails, then there's the attachments on the rails, all of the things that can fit on all of those things, that could fit on all of those things. And then you have what's in your secure container, what kind of secure container is it? What's the orientation of everything? All of that data is like, boom, here's your player, right? People wonder why all this performance stuff sucks, right? It's not because of my 6 integers that I'm proposing.
Yeah.
Now, one of my earlier jobs in my software engineering career was I basically was building a social network.
Okay.
And part of what we were doing, you know how like when you click on someone's profile on Facebook, you get their name, they have a banner photo and a profile picture and their description and their job and when they were last active, and like you have all of their posts, right? Like all this shit, right?
Yep.
But when you're just scrolling through your feed, or you get a notification saying Joe liked your post, and you click on the thing and there's a drop down. When it's like there's a user that liked your post and I want to render the little rectangle. Do I really want your name, your bio, your friends list?
Gotcha.
I don't want all of that. So what we actually built into our API was a way to say, hey, give me a user by this ID, and I want this information.
Yep.
So what I would say is, give me the user, and I'm interested in the name, the low-res profile picture, and like that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe a friend status, because maybe I want to have an add friend in the right, but you make it so that it's dynamic.
Yep.
I don't need your friends list. I don't need your post history. Right? They should have done something like this from the beginning. Which then, if they had done proper intelligent design from the start, then all of the issues that now people are saying are my problem wouldn't even exist.
Yep. Because it would be efficient.
Yeah, but right now, you want to invite your friend over, they have to sell their house, hire a moving company to bring everything they own into your living room.
Yeah.
To come over and have dinner.
Yeah.
To then pack everything up, buy a new house so that they can move. It's like the least efficient thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Dude. It was such an aha moment for me to like finally realize that the problem was just forcing it down to one thing. I mean, I'm fully with you on I trust that the information, I was never worried about, like the data, of doing those integers. But even so, like I came at it, I kind of had that moment. And once again, I have no coding experience, right? So I didn't like not understanding that. I kind of did a thought experiment the other day with chat almost to like prove a point. Like, I don't think this is a perfect solution. I don't think this is, fixes every single thing. But to like prove a point, I was like, how many things can we fix by adding one more flag? So right now it's just found in raid, not found in raid, right? That's it. And I was like, okay, found in raid's a terrible name. Let's get rid of that. And let's just have 2 different flags. And I called one purchased and one restricted. I don't remember the name I came out. Contraband or something is what someone said. And it was like, we can use systems that we know are in the game. If I purchased anything from anywhere, the flea market or a trader, like anything was purchased, it carries that purchased tag as long as I have it forever, and anyone that's in my party, which we know that exists, right? Because if I'm on Shooterborn in Heaven and Velian runs 50 meters away and I shoot him in the head, it doesn't count. The game knows what party I'm in, right?
Yeah.
So if me or anyone I'm ever partied with takes an item that I purchased, that purchase tag remains. If somebody not in my party picks up something that I purchased, that purchase tag falls off. Mm-hmm. The other flag is restricted, and that is anything that's spawned into a raid that I had on me when I died. So like that's, it's your pseudo found in raid. I put something in my secure container and I died with it. And now it's a restricted item, meaning I can't sell it on the Flea. Just by doing that, we can fix a lot of the high level issues where like people are like, well, if you remove the found in raid, it's going to be market flipping. Well, no, because it's as long as something is purchased, I can't flip it. Well, your friends would just, cheese all your loot. Nope. Because that system is already in the game. Also, we could immediately flip back to all of the quests. If I die with it, I can't list it on the flea market, but I can still turn in restricted items for quests. The only modifier there is that I can't sell it on the flea market. I can turn it in for a quest. I can use it in a craft. I can do whatever I want. And now, with just those 2 things, you make questing less toxic, like it used to be, but you preserve the progression of the game, meaning you can't just buy your way because a purchased item can't be turned in for a quest, but a restricted item can. Meaning I can't just purchase things off the flea. It makes combat more profitable, and people always talk about PvP being profitable, like people, because normally the PvP players are the ones that kind of complain about it. And I don't mean complain in a bad way, but the reality is that it's combat that's not profitable. Because even in a PvE encounter, if you fight Gluhar or the goons, the same thing applies. You can't sell their armor on the flea. All of their guns are 50 durability. So you end up stripping a few attachments and then leaving with a bunch of like trinkets, right? Yep. So once again, combat becomes more profitable because you can sell combat related things. If I kill a player, I can sell his armor on the flea or whatever. It removes market flipping, and the whole everyone, we've talked about this before, that I don't think the hatchet runner apocalypse is coming again, but people are really worried about that. It super de-incentivizes hatchet running because if you die with it, you can't sell it on the flea. And that was like, we were just like me with chat, just trying to, how many problems does that solve by just adding one more?
Yeah. What you did is you took the drawer and you said, okay, we're going to have a tools drawer and a parts drawer.
Yeah.
You just cut in half all of your problems. You still probably have to go looking for tools, but right?
But exactly. And so once again,
and all anybody's ever been debating for the last 7 years is, do we get rid of this giant drawer or not? And it's like,
dude,
why is that the only option? I'm like in the corner going, hello, everyone, you're all fucking morons.
Yeah.
Please listen. There's another option.
100%.
It's not just keep what we have or throw it out.
Yep.
It's do the smart thing.
No, 100%. And once again, it was an aha moment for me. And so I tried to share that with chat, and it was like, it's so simple. You're 100% right. The argument is just like, the point here is that both sides are right. Old if we remove Found and Raid but keep the flea market, the game gets shittier and a little bit better. And when they introduced Found and Raid, the game got a little bit better and a little bit shittier. It's like everybody keeps trying to argue which side has more bad or better for the game. And it just finally hit me like a ton of bricks when I was reading through your tweet where it's like, what if we just took the best parts of the old system and the best parts of the new system? What if the system that was in place was flexible enough to direct attack, snipe an issue, as opposed to steamroll the whole neighborhood because there's a leaky pipe in one of the houses? You know what I mean? It's like, what if the solution to the problem had the flexibility?
And now you wonder why governments are so inefficient with bullshit, because they're run by groups of people not thinking about things intelligently, and they just want to, we'll just carpet bomb the whole city because we're not sure,
yeah,
right? Like
100%.
Just napalm the village, guys. Drone strike it.
Yep. 100%. And so like, and then all of the problems that people were bringing up were like, well, what if this? What if that? And it's like, that was almost like the point. I welcome those problems because I can now show you that you introduce a problem and maybe I hadn't considered that problem. And maybe I need to make an adjustment to consider that problem. But now what I'm showing you is I can make that adjustment and not fuck the rest of it up. You know, like everything is a gotcha with the like, well, you know what I mean? People were like, well, RMTers would Q snipe each other to kill them and drop gear so they could sell the gear on the flea market. And it was like, right now, the RMTers just queuing together and drop gear for each other. It's like, who's paying money for a guy to Q snipe them to drop gear with the expressed intention of selling that gear on the flea market? The guy RMTing would just buy rubles off the other guy. Like,
and
the mental hurdles to find a problem in the solution is crazy.
Yeah, and if they did that, what's the downside? What's the cost, and is it worse than what we have now? Right?
Yeah, exactly. So every time somebody tries to poke a hole, it just further proves that the more complicated system is better because it has the flexibility to address those systems without messing up things like the profitability of PvP or how to turn in a quest or something like that, you know? So, I don't know.
And then I'm being told in chat, Found and Raid was implemented to help prevent cheaters at the same time as RMT.
Yeah, no.
You're delusional.
Yeah.
RMT was on no one's radar at the time. No one fucking cared.
Yeah, the game wasn't big enough to have an RMT community.
There was no RMT. There was no, and if there was, no one was complaining about it. No one was talking about it. It wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
And also, it had nothing to do with cheaters. It was literally added because Pestily was selling.
Yeah.
He made 1 billion rubles in an hour.
Literally.
Literally 1 billion rubles on day one because he just rushed to unlocking Salewas and then bought hundreds of thousands of them from Therapist and then instantly put them up on the flea market for 300,000 rubles.
Which is another great example of, oh my God, you just core memory unlocked. It's another great example of how they had to literally duct tape and headlock their game as a result of how shitty their solution was. You know why he could make 1 billion rubles? Because he could buy an infinite amount of Salewas.
There was no trader limit.
And they had to add the trader limits because they saw that the Found and Raid solution wasn't fixing all the problems they were trying to fix with it. It was an unstable solution. So then they had to add the trader limits, which we've been bitching about for 5 years.
Yeah, everybody, like, again, this is what I mean when they say they look at where we're standing and they say this is where we were meant to be standing.
Yeah.
People keep unironically confidently asserting as if it's a fact that the run-through mechanic was added for RMT and for blah blah. It was added because Nikita, quote, didn't like the Chinese players boosting their survival rate stats.
Yeah.
He told me that personally, that it was, because a year or two ago, a huge portion of the Chinese community was just going into factory.
Yep.
Spawning in naked and then instantly running to the exfil so that their survival rate went up.
Yep.
He didn't like He didn't like that.
At a time where you couldn't see anyone else's survival rate either.
5 years before, survival rate was a public thing. It was a personal thing. It was a personal thing. Nikita didn't like it, okay? He didn't like that people were falsely boosting their stats. But now, almost a fucking decade later, you've got thousands of people arguing that these bad game design decisions that are 17 fucking layers deep are there for this one specific reason that didn't exist.
It's Nikita's vision. It's a hardcore mechanic. It's there because of RMT or cheaters when none of that was like, 100%, 100%. The Found and Raid was added because you could buy your way through the entire progression of the game. People were literally printing billions of rubles in a matter of hours, and it overnight made the game the most fun to play with no weapon. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, because that was before a lot of the other anti-hatchet running and before a lot of budget guns. Back then, kitting out a gun was expensive. You didn't have all these budget guns. So it overnight meant the best way to play was just hatchet run in, Mosin run in, pistol run in, scoop up all the loot, shove it up your butt, and not care if you died. Those were the reasons Found and Raid was added. And it made a whole bunch of things worse. It fixed some issues. Like, once again, the point is that you and I are arguing that a solution, maybe we haven't stated this, so I don't want to speak for you. What I'm arguing is it is obvious a solution was necessary. They added the flea market, and that opened up avenues to play the game in a way that I would argue is not the way they intended, right? Like buying your way through the entire progression of the game or completely de-incentivizing the use of any gear. I am with you. If you're like, no, we need Found and Raid. We need Found and Raid because there were issues. I am with you. Like, those issues, it's just we've plugged 2 holes. We opened 47 other ones. And over the past years, we have just been on then we plugged that one and we opened 2 more. We plugged that one. It's like, it has always been a net negative. You can acknowledge that problems were in the game that needed solutions, but it's been 5 years of fixing a problem and then adding more solutions because the solution to the problem, you're not considering how it would affect any other aspect of the game. And so we have more problems today than we had before it started. So it's not saying we don't need Found and Raid to go back and say, what if we just created a better system that was more flexible and could then fix more problems and target more problems, because nothing is targeted right now. It's just steamrolled.
Yeah, I just had like a 3-season Netflix series visualization in my head. I feel as if I'm in a submarine. Okay, I've been in a submarine, right?
Yeah.
And you have Nikita with his little captain's hat on, and then you have the community, like the little tiny gremlin.
Yeah.
Like pulling at his pant leg, like maybe it's his son or something, that the annoying one that you don't like. There's a hole, so there's water just coming through, right? And it's Nikita and the fucking first mate yelling back and forth about whether or not the bubble gum should be stuck on or not. I'm sitting here with a welding torch and a piece of steel, going, "Hey, 1 minute. Hey guys, you should try 1 minute. We're trying to figure out about the bubble gum," and it's like,
"Yep, that looks complicated."
No.
Yeah,
it's about the bubble gum, right?
Yeah.
It's just, and what? So now, okay. So now you see the context, of what I was arguing in my tweet, but also again, it was already a problem that I was already sick of in the beginning of 2019.
Yeah.
When I made videos like that, it was because they were a problem for so long that I was fed up.
Yeah.
So I had the epiphany about the problem and proposed a solution that, I mean, this tweet was 500,000 fucking views on the tweet, and everybody, with 99% of people are like, holy shit, great idea. And it's like, I just have to point out once again, I've got this reputation as being a fucking pain in the ass, constantly complaining. And I just a reminder for everybody that maybe doesn't see the perspective here of the fact that I have been trying to explain this shit to the community for and any individual people. Like, I'm not blaming any individual people, because we're talking about like a monolithic mass of anonymous strangers that changes every week, right? But I just hope that maybe some people who perhaps didn't fully understand me before will understand why I've been so fucking frustrated with all this bullshit and quote unquote constantly complaining, constantly whining, and wanting to change the game in my way. It's because I've seen these obvious problems for more than half a decade and have been proposing the solutions that now everybody's like, oh my God, yes, let's do that. And I've been getting told repeatedly, no. And so it's that right there. It's what you experience with the people over the last 72 hours. Is what I experienced full time for seven years. And that's why I can't play the game anymore. Because it feels like a lost cause. There's no winning for me.
For sure. And it's in a weird spot, because like I kind of am with you on the whole, it feels like a lost cause. It's just the conversation has been reopened, and the conversation is so fresh. Once again, like we said, because the dam broke when they made the change. Once again, up until 48 hours ago, this was a hill they were willing to die on, or at least that's what they said. They always said, we will never remove the flea market. We will never remove Found and Raid, because more other people have suggested it many times on Tarkov TVs. And so because that dam opened up, it's like, oh, do I get sucked back into like, okay, well, if you're taking suggestions, but it is fascinating. It is. Yeah, I don't know.
The sad part here too, though, is that the solution is going to be, Nikito's like, is it A or B, right? And I've been saying C for 6 years now. It's going to be A or B, right?
It is.
It's not
100%. And that's why I can't like get sucked in too much. You know what I mean? Is that like it will end up being A or B. They'll either end up just turning it back on or leaving it off, and it's brutal. It's brutal. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, the sad part is, right, so many people, this is an engineering problem that engineers will be familiar with. That they would say, your solution is, it might not be complicated, right, but it's like time consuming and yada yada. Make the case for why they can't afford to do it now. But what they don't realize is that argument was made to me 5 years ago. And since then, they've spent the amount of time it took the Apollo program to land on the moon to make no progress. We're exactly where we started. So it's like, it's the sunk cost fallacy. We keep saying, oh, we're too late to fix it. 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 We're too late to fix it.
How many years go by?
Until we're all retirement. We're all going, oh, I want to go play Tarkov. It's been 75 years since I played Tarkov. Oh, I'm gonna, and you boot up the fucking game on your antique, non-quantum VR computer that isn't connected to your brainstem, right? And then the first thing you go to do is you go to turn in that item and it's not found in raid, and you're like, oh, right. They never added 5 integer values. With the kinds of logic you would learn day 2 of programming 101.
And I think the conversation just gets so like diluted and confused with other things. Like somebody said, I think too many casuals are now used to a more easy mode Tarkov. Like, in what way? Once
Tarkov
again,
is harder
it's
now
harder.
than it was, and it's not even necessarily like it's harder in all of the worst ways and more confusing and more ambiguous.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The definitions of things are more arbitrary, they're more confusing, they're not presented to the player, and many mechanics are demonstrably harder. I will say again, in the old hardcore era of Tarkov, if you needed a power cord and you found one and you shoved it in your secure container and you died, you could still turn it in for a quest. You can't do that now. And when you find the last power cord you need, you go prone and you crawl your ass out of that raid and you rat because you know it's going to be super frustrating and not fun and not hardcore and not immersive if you die with that last power cord another goddamn time. It's not the casuals are used to easy mode Tarkov. It is Tarkov is complicated and broken and designed poorly, and people that want better design don't inherently want Tarkov to be harder or easier. That is a conversation we can have, but I just want it to be designed better and to be more intuitive. Bad game design is not hardcore. I say again, bad game design is not hardcore. But that it gets scooped into that conversation. Casuals have it too easy. The hardcore community want it this way. The milsim people want it this way. We're so far away from talking about if any part of the game should be easier or harder or more hardcore or less or more milsim or more arcadey. We're just talking about the system should work and should be flexible and should be intuitive and the player should know what the hell something is. I hate that it just gets scooped up into that just well, the casuals think it's easy. It's what?
Dude,
I can't drop I can't drop keys. All these RMT restrictions, all these flea market restrictions, all the found and raid stuff. It's so demonstrably harder. I got my first documents case in Tarkov in 2018 because someone dropped it for me for free. It would delete itself out of existence if I tried to do that right now. How is it?
With a warning message.
Yeah. How is it that the casuals think it's easy now? I don't want.
So that's the thing. So I don't think anyone that I've ever talked to on Twitch, I'm almost positive that none of them have ever considered this. Because I hadn't until now. Imagine not being a chronic Twitch chatter.
Yeah.
Or a streamer, and imagine not having watched 100 hours of Tarkov content on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine you just heard about this game and you want to pick it up and you buy it and you download it and you open it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Think about what the game tells you. Again, you're not on the wiki. You haven't watched the stream. You don't know the lingo. And then you go to turn in that item for the quest and it doesn't work. Where's I must not know where the button is to turn in the thing.
Yeah.
How do I do it? Right? Sorry, you can't turn in the item because what you killed on that guy in the backpack, it was actually brought in accidentally by him because he forgot to remove it from his backpack, so he didn't loot it. So it wasn't really. It makes no sense. It doesn't say you can't use this item because it just doesn't work.
Yep.
So think about all of the features in the game that simply don't work. And if you aren't a chronic Twitch chatter, content creator, or YouTube follower, it makes no sense.
Yep.
These things that people are defending and trying to justify, they only make sense because they're chronically online.
Yeah.
And they have their iPad with the wiki up. They've got JesseKazam on fucking one screen. They've got Landmark on another screen and a fucking Deadly Slob tutorial video on the other screen while they're playing Tarkov. And they're having all of these fucking content creators and wikis telling them exactly how to fucking play their hardcore game that they're so fucking hardcore serious about. When...
Yeah.
And they're acting as if everybody's arguing that the game should hold their hand without realizing that the game has them strapped in harnesses. They're in the kiddie seat in the back of their mom's Subaru, right?
Yeah.
But they've got a crash test helmet and there's a fucking roll cage around them, and they're like, yeah, this is fucking hardcore, bro. And they have no fucking idea because they've got no peripheral vision because there's blinders on.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
The game is so utterly terribly bad for people who have 10,000 hours. It's annoying and complicated, and it just gets worse the less experience you have.
For sure.
Exponentially
worse. And like, needing a second monitor for a thing isn't more hardcore. You know, like we've talked about that a lot with like quest design, where like the game doesn't tell you where to go get a thing, so you just look it up. You spend exactly 0% of your time in the hardcore, like searching for it. You know, you just look at a wiki. In the same way, you know, we even right now in the chat, we've had a bunch of people say just remove the flea market, and it's like on one hand, you truly don't realize how much of the game has been engineered around the flea market since it's been put in the game. How many quests know you're going to buy the thing you need for the barter? How many barter items that have been added know that you're going to buy all the items off the flea, so they inflate them? Like, you have no idea how much of the game has been around the flea. But secondarily, assuming all of that doesn't exist and we just got rid of the flea, once again, if you're saying that from I remember back in my day when it wasn't the flea and everything was harder, they should just get rid of it. It took me less than a week of being that guy, brand new to Tarkov in 2018, before I was in the subreddit and in multiple discords of buy sell, and people were buying and selling things. They were setting prices. We were hopping into raids. It's like, you say that was the more hardcore experience. How is it more hardcore to just have to hop into a discord and DM a guy and hope he doesn't shoot me in the face?
Because it makes you unhappy.
Yes.
Dying is hardcore. Dying makes me unhappy. Bad UX and bad game design makes me unhappy, right? It's hardcore to not have a right-click quick sell.
Yeah.
Because convenience makes you happy. Hardcore game can't make you happy.
Yeah.
Things that make you unhappy must be intended.
Yeah. Yeah.
BSG is piggybacked. Everybody wants to hate on the content creators. I'm going to steel man this argument. Here's why you should hate content creators. Because if we didn't exist, BSG couldn't have used us to make their tutorial.
Yeah.
They have literally skipped over 30% of the design of their game because they're like, these other people will fucking do our jobs for us. They'll explain all the things that our design doesn't explain.
Yeah.
That our quests don't explain, that our lack of maps and markers and explanations for features don't explain.
Yep.
We either hate us or love us. We're the only reason why the game makes any fucking sense.
Yep.
And that the problem
Tarkov
is
with
that
no
BSG,
wiki.
Yeah, and the wiki was, half a dozen people, volunteering their fucking time, while at the same time being demonized for a large portion of Tarkov's history.
Yeah.
Demonized by Nikita and the developers.
Oh yeah, the wiki guys. Yup.
Absolutely fucking demonized.
Yep.
And they're the unsung fucking heroes.
100%.
Because BSG has offloaded their jobs onto the wiki and content creators. And that's like cool and fine when you're in an alpha or the early stages of a beta. Someone unironically made the game's a beta argument for me, by the way, the other day. They shirked off all this work, right? They moved the goalposts. Yeah, we'll get to it. And they've forgotten that they need to get to it, and people are defending the status quo without realizing this isn't where we should be. This isn't where it was intended. This isn't.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. So as usual, here's how I'll end this rant. With the next time you see 300 people on Twitter going back and forth about what the solution to a problem is, I promise you will be freed from this this mortal coil slavery bondage that is groupthink brain deadedness. If you just assume both sides are wrong and you think for yourself, you'll probably come to a better conclusion. Take a step back. If you just assume, and you know what? Sometimes you're going to be wrong. But if you just assume, I wonder if the problem that they're arguing whether or not A or B is the solution for, I wonder if maybe the problem isn't the problem. You'll probably come to the right conclusion. And then you'll be burdened with the curse of having an opinion that isn't in agreement with 49.8% of humanity. And having that be the reasonable right opinion, and having having 98% of people disagree with you.
And that was me, like, for a long time. Like, I've been super willing to admit on a lot of these things how I used to, I used to be like, there's no cheaters in Tarkov. I used to be like, VoIP is going to ruin the game. Like, I used to be that way. And I used to think Found and Raid was like so necessary and all these things, and rationalize that maybe there are some issues. But yeah, that was finally the thing that I did about this issue this past week, where it was like, wait, it's not either one sides of this argument. It's not this person versus this person. It's like they're both right and they're both wrong, and we can create a solution that makes the game better and brings the best of both worlds in a way that doesn't sacrifice. That I think that's the thing that gets me the most, is that the game has to be painful to be hardcore. You know what I mean? Like, even just saying that a solution could provide a more intuitive experience and would give the best of both worlds. Like, the best of both worlds is a bad term to a lot of these people, because it's like, well, if it's good,
must be some compromise.
It must be, baby's first Tarkov. It must be compromising the spirit of the game, when in so many ways, not in every way, hear me clearly, not in every way, but in so many ways, the game is harder now than the hardcore era of Tarkov pre-Flea. And we just gloss over that. You know what I mean? So it's, I mean, we've, obviously ranted on this enough. It's just so, it's so crazy. I hope, and that's where I'm at, right? It's like, it's fun. This is my like weekly little therapy session, right? I rant it. I get it all out. I might make a video about it. I've been kind of scripting one, but at the end of the day, I can hope that they're looking for actual elegant solutions and maybe take your tweet, but I toss this opinion out into the universe, and I move on, because it's absolutely, they're just going to turn it off, or they're going to turn it back on. Like, that's it. So I don't know.
You know what would be just like the perfect ultimate irony if this was a romantic comedy? It would be like, it would be if Landmark suggested basically what I suggested, but in different language, and everybody was like, yes, Nikita was like, genius, and then they changed it. And then everybody was like, yeah, fuck that Veritas guy. Dude. That would just be the ultimate like, bum, 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 bum.
Dude, honestly,
I only say this, not obviously, I'm not trying to talk shit about Landmark. That was just if anybody's going to be the like Giga Chad, how there's always like, when you have what's that movie, Little Giants?
Okay.
Like I'm like the kid wrapped in bubble wrap, right? And obviously Landmark is like the team winner or whatever, right? Like Giga Chad, whatever. This is just there's a saying about tragedy and comedy. Insert that saying. Yeah. Insert that saying in here, because that's basically like, it's just it's why I have to just not care.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
Yep.
You can only care if you're in the driver's seat, right? But Jesus took the wheel, and he's got a fucking blood alcohol level of
3.
250.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So I don't know. That that is that. And it's not even worth at first, like earlier in the night, I was like, there's been conversations about the flea market, because then Nikita literally tweeted, he's got to be trolling. He literally tweeted and did a poll. This one is intense. Should we remove the flea market next wipe? This is just a poll though. And it's literally, 47% yes, 45% no, 7%. Wait a second. So that seems so crazy because
I'm pretty sure I voted yes just because I'm like chaotic good, and I'm like, I want to be the one vote that fucks everything up. I evilly voted yes.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think, and that's the thing, is that like it's just so, instead of working on genuine solutions, elegant ones like you're proposing, he's just continuing to polarize the community, because now everyone's just reinforcing their opinion on whether the flea market should go or should stay without any new information. They're just hardening up their arguments, duking it out in the comments. And it's just like,
yeah. And like, why, once again, why is the debate, why is the argument whether the flea market should stay?
Yep.
We're one step removed.
Yep.
What's the problem?
Yep.
What's the problem?
Exactly. 100%. The problem with...
I don't even remember what's the problem.
I don't know either. I am almost positive that the problem with the flea market that people have is the problems with the found and raid system, whether they know it or not. And a more elegant solution to that would create a system that made those people happy, but they can't think of another system. So it's just throw it all out or keep it all.
Yeah, it's like I don't like some aspect of it, so remove it, versus I do. But like the reason why this all came up was because of some underlying issue.
Yeah.
And everybody's forgotten what the issue is, and they're all arguing
once again
half-cocked.
Yeah.
And it's actually funny. Think about everybody listening, watching.
Yeah.
Think about why again we're having this conversation. What's the problem again?
Yeah. I just like, remove the flea market, and then good luck finding East 316 or whatever it is you need for healthcare privacy. By the way, if your friend finds it and tries to give it to you, it's going to delete itself. You know what I mean? It's just like that. Are there problems? 100%. But on the side of like, just delete it. Holy cow. I just don't think those people would be ready for that awakening.
Oh my God, dude. That literally reminds me. Imagine two guys that decided to get the game together, both on day one. Guy finds a thing, he's going to go drop it for his buddy, and there's like a warning message that pops up.
Yeah.
That to me, literally, my feeling is like, if I went to go to the buffet, right?
Yeah.
And like, I wanted the General Tso's chicken, and they're like, insert a coin for, and it's like, but I already paid for the buff.
Yeah.
What? I can't drop items in a. Everyone said this was a team-based game.
Yeah.
What do you mean? It just doesn't. It's just the ultimate fucking debate.
Yep. And then, yeah. It's not even worth going into. So it's fascinating. And so yeah. So what I was gonna say earlier was like, I was gonna talk about that, the flea market. A lot of people are talking about containers and all that kind of stuff. It's just like all back on the table. And it's interesting discussion, and it's hard. It's hard because the waters are sufficiently muddy where like you could think the container should stay because the game needs to be hardcore. You could think the container should go because you think the game needs to be hardcore. Everybody agrees a bunch of free stuff isn't hardcore, and then Nikita gave everyone free stuff and asked for more money for more stuff, but then Nikita tweeted long live hardcore. So it's like nobody's, including my own, but nobody's perception or opinion is like wholly valid on what's hardcore. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just, it's just such a non-argument. You know what I mean? It's a non-argument, and I don't know what to do. And once again, I don't know. So it's like it's been fascinating to see all of the conversations flip back up. There have been some actually like fun, interesting ideas, some out of pocket ones, but it's just what's
hardcore.
And what's hardcore. And what I find funny is that like this circle continues where it's like we should just make some tweaks to the system and the system would be better. No, we should just remove the system. And then person A goes, well, if you remove the system, what about this? And this person goes, well, we would have to make some tweaks to the system. And then this person goes, well, no, just remove this. It's like, it's maddening because it's like, we're arguing like the system needs to change. We don't have to get rid of the flea market because if the found and raid system changes, it would be better. And it's like, and then someone in chat was like, just get rid of the flea market. And they're like, well, if you got rid of the flea market, then all these other problems. And then they go, well, just get rid of the flea market and make these adjustments. And it's like, exactly. That's the point. The point is that any solution, the game is sufficiently like underwater. It is drowning in itself, in its spaghetti code, that everybody, it's so easy to tweet. Like everybody wants a slam dunk. Just remove the flea market. Just remove the secure container. Just remove found and raid. And then immediately anyone could be like, but then this issue. And then they go, well, obviously you would have to remove it and then change this and then change this and then change this and then change this and then change this. And it's like, so eventually we have to pick a thing and make those changes. It's just a circle of like, no, you don't need to make all those changes. That's too much stuff. Just remove the flea. Well, if we did, well, then just remove the security. Well, we have, and it's like, don't you all understand? Every one of your ideas all ultimately ends in having to unravel the shit spaghetti. There is no just do this and it all works. It all ends in having to unravel this. All of it.
People assume that the half-cocked solution they have come up with for a problem they never truly understood, they assume that A, it'll be good for the game, and or B, that's what the vision, the point of that's what's hardcore, right?
Yeah.
As far as I know, I can't say that. What I will say is I know of one video that actually tries to fucking answer the question of what does Tarkov want to be? What's it meant to be?
Yeah.
And it's is Tarkov going in the wrong direction?
Yeah.
The video that for 3 days made me
everybody was excited.
Made me not hated. Because I talk about what the game used to be like, and I talk about what Nikita has specifically said about what he wants.
Yeah.
And try to get us all to pump the brakes and see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
Because every discussion, I mean, like literally what I ended my TLDR massive 97 chapter tweet with was, if the EFT community ever hopes for progress, you need to stop debating which flavor shit cake you want and recognize there are better solutions.
And that's 100%. And that's 100%. I'm there with you. 100%. And I don't claim to know all those solutions. You know what I mean? I just want us to be talking about the right things. That's why, like, I had a great conversation with chat where I said, with the founder rate thing, I was like, hey, if we add another flag, what does it fix? What issues does it have? And it was like, I'm not saying this is a perfect idea, but the conversation was remarkably not toxic. And
very productive.
Because just pointing us in the right direction meant that there were a lot of like concerns with the system and a lot of fixes and adjustments to be made because we just took it out of should found and raid stay or should found and raid go. It was that. So maybe the flea market should go. Maybe this container should go. Maybe, but it's like, but in any of those conversations, it can't just be, it has to be the old way or it has to be the new way. It has to be like, what does the game want to be? What is it trying to do? And what's like, you know what I mean? It's just, it has to be different than that. So yeah, that summation, 100%. It's not which flavor shit cake. It's How do we make a cake? But the problem is that so many players are Stockholm syndromed by the shit cake that they're convinced that was supposed to be the flavor of the cake all along.
They've been eating it for so long. They've kind of have a taste for it.
Yeah, that a chocolate cake would be too sugary, and that's for children. Shit cake for men. Someone's gonna clip that. I know they are. Anyways, but that's
shit cake for men. The new fragrance
for men,
sponsored by. Oh fuck!
Shit cake.
Smells like Russia.
But just, you know what I mean? So it's like that is another layer that makes this maddening to discuss, is that there's people that are arguing for good solutions, there's people that are arguing for bad solutions, and there are people that just like are arguing that the shit cake is intended. And it's crazy. So that's it. That's the stuff.
I'm unironically sweating.
Yeah, dude, me too. And it's so funny because like if you watched this podcast and then walked away thinking, I don't understand why he cares so much, I get it, because like I get so frustrated, but I dump it all here so that for the rest of the week I can be like, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like I vent it out, I get it out.
You dump it all here so that
we are aligned, because we see, you know what I mean? And then I just need somebody to like see me and be like, yeah, you're not crazy. And then it's just like, dude, whatever. Like, I know Nikita doesn't listen to me. I know if I put all my thoughts in a video, which I might do, he's not going to watch it. And if he watches it, he's not going to implement it. I've done that about many other things. I've made suggestions that Nikita has specifically said are a good idea, and he was going to implement and then never implemented. So it's like, I'm very aware of my position. So I just need to like get it out, communicate, and then I'm fine.
Yeah, like if you weren't dumping this on me now, then Saturday morning when I sit down with my therapist, I would have nothing to talk about, because now it's Jesse's vindicating all of the things I've been saying for so long, and that has made my mental health so much better because I feel like I'm heard.
Yeah. So that's the stuff. That's the Tarkov stuff. That's what's been going on this week. But yeah, dude, we'll friggin' see, man. We'll friggin' see what happens. They did a bunch of events today, but we can talk about that next week. Good conversation. I don't know. Everybody post the link to this and at Nikita. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for hanging. We appreciate you. Thank you again to Factor for sponsoring the episode. If you want to hear us talk about more stuff that's not just Tarkov, if you want to hear us talk about things we like and not this video game,
and the stuff we don't, like we specifically are talking about this here because we don't want to say it there.
Dude, every episode of the Patreon episode has one of those, has a like, okay, we don't want to talk about this on the regular podcast. So if you want the deep cuts, go to patreon.com/thepogcastpod, patreon.com/thepogcastpod. You get early ad-free access to these episodes and an additional 1 hour or more episode every week. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you, and we will definitely see y'all on the next.
Peace.